Welcome to Capitol Catch-Up, the podcast where we unpack what's happening on Capitol Hill. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lainey. Today we're diving into a packed agenda, a multi-year budget plan, a suite of new bills ranging from energy to quantum technology, a handful of resolutions, a series of nominations, and highlights from the latest congressional record.
Let's start with the big picture on the budget. The Senate has adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution 33, which sets the congressional budget for fiscal year 2026 and outlines budgetary levels through 2035. Lainey, why does a concurrent resolution matter?
A concurrent resolution isn't a law. It's a statement that both chambers agree on. It doesn't require the president's signature, but it signals the fiscal framework that will guide the appropriations process. In practice, it tells the House and Senate committees where they should aim when drafting the annual spending bills and the longer-term budget caps.
So it's essentially a roadmap for the next decade of federal spending. That roadmap will shape everything from defense funding to education grants.
Exactly. And because it covers 10 years, it also influences long-term programs like infrastructure, research, and entitlement reforms. Lawmakers will reference those levels when they negotiate the annual appropriations bills, such as the upcoming military construction and Veterans Affairs package.
Speaking of appropriations, House Bill 8469, the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2027, is already on the table. While we don't have the line item details, the bill will fund new bases, renovation projects, and the Department of Veterans Affairs. That means construction jobs and health services for veterans in the coming year.
And the budget framework set by Senate Concurrent Resolution 33 will limit how much can be allocated to those projects, ensuring they stay within the overall spending caps.
Moving on to the legislative package introduced by House Resolution 1189. This resolution bundles several items for consideration. First, it calls for debate on House Bill 4690, the Reliable Federal Infrastructure Act, which amends the Energy Conservation and Production Act to repeal certain federal building energy efficiency performance standards.
If that amendment passes, federal buildings could be exempt from some of the stricter energy-saving requirements that have been in place for years. Proponents argue it reduces compliance costs for agencies, while critics worry it could slow progress on government-led sustainability goals.
The same resolution also includes House Resolution 1182, a statement of support for rural communities. It praises rural America as stewards of the environment, major energy suppliers, food producers, and drivers of economic stability. While symbolic, such resolutions can shape policy priorities, especially when they highlight the need for rural broadband, agricultural research, and infrastructure investment.
And the resolution doesn't stop there. It also schedules consideration of House Bill 1897, which would amend the Endangered Species Act of 1973. The goal is to prioritize resources, incentivize private land conservation, increase transparency in recovery plans, streamline permitting, and remove barriers that have slowed species recovery.
That could be a game changer for landowners who want to protect wildlife but find the regulatory process cumbersome. By offering incentives, the bill aims to align private interests with conservation outcomes.
Finally, House Resolution 1189 includes House Bill 5587, an amendment to the Geothermal Steam Act of 1970. It would waive the federal drilling permit for certain geothermal activities and exempt those activities from the National Environmental Policy Act. In short, it would speed up geothermal development, potentially expanding clean energy sources.
So House Resolution 1189 is really a multi-topic vehicle, touching on energy policy, rural advocacy, wildlife conservation, and geothermal development, all areas that could affect everyday Americans, from homeowners to farmers to energy consumers.
Let's not forget the other standalone bills that have been introduced. House Bill 6387, known as the FIRE Act, is aimed at improving federal infrastructure resilience, though the specific provisions aren't detailed in the summary we have. The name suggests a focus on fire-related hazards, which could mean better building codes or forest management funding.
Then there's House Bill 8462, the National Quantum Initiative Reauthorization Act. This bill renews funding for quantum research, supporting universities, private firms, and national labs. Quantum computing promises breakthroughs in cryptography, drug discovery, and materials science, so continued investment could have long-term economic benefits.
On the security side, House Bill 8470, the Surveillance Accountability Act, seeks to increase oversight of government surveillance programs. While we lack the exact language, the title implies tighter checks on how agencies collect and use data, which is a direct concern for privacy-conscious citizens.
Complementing that, House Bill 8485, the No Rogue Jurors Act, appears to address juror misconduct, perhaps by establishing clearer standards for juror removal or penalties for tampering. Strengthening the integrity of juries is a cornerstone of the justice system.
Environmental and community health also feature prominently. House Bill 8474, the Neighborhood Tree Act of 2026, likely promotes urban tree planting and preservation, which can improve air quality, reduce heat islands, and increase property values. Meanwhile, House Bill 8473, the Veterinary Services to Improve Public Health in Rural Communities Act, would expand veterinary outreach, helping to control zoonotic diseases that can jump from animals to humans.
There's also House Bill 8467, the Zombie Act. The acronym isn't explained, but given the name, it could address abandoned or zombie properties, perhaps streamlining demolition or redevelopment processes to revitalize blighted neighborhoods.
And House Bill 8465, the Funding Early Childhood is the Right Idea Act, focuses on early childhood education funding. Investing in preschool and pre-K programs has been shown to improve long-term academic outcomes, so this bill could have a direct impact on families with young children.
We also have House Bill 8470, the Surveillance Accountability Act, which we mentioned, and House Bill 8474, the Neighborhood Tree Act, both of which have clear community implications.
A more solemn piece of business is House Resolution 1206, which expresses the profound sorrow of the House of Representatives on the death of the Honorable David Scott. While not legislative, such resolutions honor public servants and remind us of the human side of governance.
And let's not overlook House Concurrent Resolution 89, which directs the President, under the War Powers Resolution, to remove United States armed forces from hostilities with Iran. This is a powerful statement of congressional intent to limit executive military action. If the President does not comply, it could trigger legal challenges and further political debate over war powers.
That resolution underscores the ongoing tension between the legislative and executive branches over who decides when and how the United States engages in conflict.
Shifting gears, the recent nominations list includes several individuals, but the source provides no descriptions. We'll keep an eye out for committee hearings and any statements that clarify their roles, whether they're for senior executive positions, judicial appointments, or other key posts.
Finally, the congressional record for April 21, 2026, gives us a snapshot of floor debate. Representative McBride of Delaware commemorated the 120th anniversary of Congregation Beth Emeth, highlighting its commitment to inclusivity and social justice, and also honored the historic Hockessin Colored School, a landmark in the fight against segregation.
She also paid tribute to Reverend Snow Peabody of Teen Challenge, recognizing his work helping individuals overcome addiction, and noted the passing of his wife Liddell in 2025.
Representative Sykes of Ohio raised concerns about policies she calls the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, arguing they have increased taxes and reduced funding for Medicaid and SNAP, thereby hurting working families.
Representative Moore of Utah turned the floor to artificial intelligence, introducing the AI Children's Toy Safety Act, which would ban AI-powered chatbots in children's toys. He warned about deepfakes, identity theft, and social isolation, emphasizing a human-centric approach to AI development.
Moore also honored the late Carlos Olin Godby, an IT administrator who served Capitol Hill for over 3 decades, and Representative Presley of Massachusetts celebrated her district director, Eric White, for his dedication and historical knowledge.
Those remarks illustrate how personal stories and policy concerns intersect on the House floor, shaping the narrative around legislation.
To sum up, we have a multi-year budget framework, a bundle of bills tackling energy standards, rural support, endangered species, geothermal development, quantum research, infrastructure resilience, surveillance oversight, early childhood education, and more. We also have a War Powers Resolution aimed at ending hostilities with Iran, and a series of symbolic resolutions honoring individuals and communities.
Listeners should watch for the Senate's response to Senate Concurrent Resolution 33, the House's markup of the Reliable Federal Infrastructure Act and the Endangered Species Amendments, and any committee hearings on the nominations. The AI Children's Toy Safety Act and the Surveillance Accountability Act could also move quickly given public interest.
Keep an eye on the upcoming appropriations debate for fiscal year 2027, especially the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Bill, because those numbers will be directly constrained by the budget levels set in the concurrent resolution.
That's all for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us on Capital Catch-up. We'll be back soon with more analysis as these stories develop.
Stay informed, and we'll see you next time.